When I welcomed you, I said that we gather to hold patience and tenderness for each other as we together heal from the trauma of the pandemic and racial terror. We gather to help each other become better than we were before. Kamal Sinclair talked about the phenomenon of cancel culture and of people self-centering because they're so concerned about being, corrected or even shunned. And we don't believe in that, grantmakers in the arts. We believe that we must honor intent and attend to impact. Those are two difficult things to do on their own. They're difficult to do at the same time, too, but it's always a process, And we stumble through that process, but we hold each other in tenderness as we stumble through that process. I embrace Andre Serrano's art. I also believe that to be pro-social justice is inherently to be pro-Black. Grantmakers in the arts is explicitly pro-justice and pro-Black. When we heard Andre Serrano talking about the atrocity of the family separations at the border, he said, if those weren't Latinx kids, they wouldn't be kept in cages. If those were white, Black, or green, they wouldn't be kept in cages. I used to be a Latinx kid. I am raising Latinx kids. That's just factually inaccurate. From the Indian boarding schools, to the internment camps, to our ongoing prison industrial complex, of course we put other kids in cages. It is an atrocity, but it is unfortunately true. We must lift each other up. We must embrace each other's humanity. Anger is a good thing. I agree with that. We must be angry enough to fight for justice and embrace each other's humanity. This is why we support cultural expression. Cultural expression is the expression of our humanity. We must hold each other in tenderness and help each other become better than we were before. I am so honored to get to do that with all of you. Thank you. Now, I want to embrace the rest of our morning in exactly that spirit. And it is in that spirit that I am honored to introduce you to the Executive Director of the Flamboyant Foundation, Carlos Rodriguez.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to the last keynote of the 2022 GIA Annual Conference. As Eddie said, my name is Carlos Rodriguez Silvestre. I am the Executive Director of the Flamboyant Foundation in Puerto Rico. I want to start to acknowledge the Lenape Munsee people and so many others on whose unceded land we stand. As a member or representative of the San Juan GIA Conference Planning Committee, I have the honor and privilege to officially invite you to the 2023 GIA Annual Conference next year. It's gonna run from November 5th through the 8th. Save the date. We're gonna be gathering in San Juan again. We'll be waiting for you. As highlighted previous year in the virtual conference, Puerto Rico might be associated with palm trees, beaches, romantic air of Old San Juan, rhythms of bomba, but the island and its people are much more than that. In the complex colonial history, the political status that has us as a U.S. territory, the ancestors of our legacies, Taino, African, and European, are just examples of the diverse social and cultural narratives that encompass Puerto Rico. Deep questions of identity and belonging, speaking truth to power, and embracing layered diasporic community offers us immense insight into the ever-adapting culture of the island. Artists and activists among the many calling for change, continue to lead the way for imagining different ways of belonging in new future with the strength Puerto Ricans show daily. So much more is to said and to share in the Puerto Rican cultural communities. We wait for you there. Te esperamos. I'm also here to announce the lucky winner of the complimentary conference pass. Thank you, Nadia. And the winner is Chaya Scott. Chaya, congratulations. We wait for you in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And finally, honored to invite GIA board member Kristin Sakoda to introduce the last keynote speaker of the conference. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Oh my goodness, it is so wonderful to be here with you. I am Kristin McDonald Sakoda, and I'm the director of the Los Angeles County Department of Arts and Culture, and as was just mentioned, I am also a proud member of the GIA board and filled with absolute gratitude for this time we have spent together and for the amazing program that Eddie, Nadia, the planning committee, and the entire GIA staff put together. Can we please give them another round of applause? This has been incredible. I am an African-American woman with clear hipster-style glasses, petite in stature, big in ambition, with long auburn locks and a smile. I am from a long line of public servants and essential workers, nurses, educators, dentists, government workers, doctors. I am the Great Migration from the Gullah Geechee people of Louisiana through Texas, St. Louis, Chicago, New York, and now LA, where I am proud to be the first Black woman, I believe the first person of color, to lead arts and culture for the largest county in the United States of over 10 million people. And I am so thrilled and honored to be with my funding family today, all of you, truly. Now, I've had such great fortune and privilege to travel different places around the world. Last week, or 2 weeks ago, I was at Mondia Cult, UNESCO's World Conference on Cultural Policies and Sustainable Development, facilitating a conversation on how culture moves at the local level with our phenomenal NEA chair, Dr. Maria Rosario Jackson, and representatives from cities around the world. But one of the things that struck me, as over 160 countries gathered to affirm the power of culture, was that the entire thing opened with dance. No matter where we go, I went from there to Helsinki, Finland, and as part of our program of understanding the culture, the art of Helsinki, part of the program was song and dance. And so we know, whether it is Mexico City, Puerto Rico, Chicago, LA, the streets of New York, dance is who we are. Design Studio for Social Intervention frames spatial justice as the rights to be, to thrive, to express, and to connect in and across public space. So the interconnectedness between spatial justice and the role of artists and BIPOC artists as visionaries and warriors of the imagination, some might say, is essential to our pursuit of racial justice and the recognition of arts as vital to our ability to make sense of the past, make connection in the present, and make a better world in the future. But we also know that our very humanity at times is under threat, or is othered, or is the site of trauma, or even transcendence. And in that context, the bodily existence, making Black dance, is a radical act. And that's why I am so thrilled and honored and almost overwhelmed, really, to be able, there are so many things I could say, y'all, to introduce our final keynote speaker, Jawole Will Jo Zollar. An artist, a visionary, Jawole has made an indelible mark on the field by challenging assumptions about body types, about movement vocabularies, about the role of community in creation and the role of the artist in community. With dance works that shift paradigms and a commitment to social justice on and off the stage, she's helped blaze the way to where we are in the field today. At a young age in Kansas City, Missouri, Jawole studied with Joseph Stevenson, a student of the legendary Katherine Dunham. And after receiving her BA and her MFA in dance, she moved to New York City. In 1984, Jawole founded Urban Bushwomen as a performance ensemble dedicated to cultural expression as a catalyst for social change. Now, in addition to the 34, I believe it is, works that she's created for Urban Bushwomen, I mean, if y'all haven't seen them, make sure you've seen them, from Bati Moves to Girlfriends to Walking with Pearl to, oh my God, Hair and Other Stories. Get you some. She has also choreographed works for Alvin Ailey, Philadelphia, and more. And in addition to her role at UBW as founder and visioning partner, she is the Nancy Smith Fichter and Robert O. Lawton Distinguished Professor of Dance at Florida State University. Jawole has received recognition, we shall say. She has received fellowships from United States artists, the John Simon Guggenheim Memorial Foundation. She received the Doris Duke Performing Artist Award, Dance Magazine Award, Dance USA Honor Award, and Bessie Lifetime Achievement Award. In 2020, our colleagues at the Ford Foundation awarded Urban Bushwomen as one of America's cultural treasures. And in 2021, Jawole received the Dance Teacher Award of Distinction and the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Genius Foundation Award. Yes. 22 has seen the APAP Honors Award of Merit and the Dorothy and Lillian Gish Prize. So thrilling. Now, Urban Bushwomen, you may know. If you don't, there's more in your program, but the organization galvanizes artists, activists, audiences, and communities through performance, but also artist development, education, community engagement. So many incredible programs like the Summer Leadership Institute, Bold Builders, Organizers, and Leaders Through Dance, and a Choreographic Center initiative that is bringing forward the next generation. Jawole and Urban Bushwomen not only played a huge role on the field, but a huge role in my life and career. And so as a former Urban Bushwomen dancer myself, later a board member, after that a funder, and now part of the forever Urban Bushwomen family, it is an honor to welcome to the stage Jawole Will Jo Zollar.
Thank you for that amazing introduction, Kristin. I met Kristin when she was 22 years old. I think she had just graduated from Stanford and joined the company almost right after that. And you could just see that this was an amazing, amazing young woman who was going to do things beyond what I could imagine, and it is all right there. Good afternoon, good morning. Thank you for honoring me and giving me this opportunity to speak in front of you, this amazing group of dedicated arts leaders who are really invested in making the world better, and that the arts are an important part of how the world can be better. And I know there's a lot on the plate in this moment. I mean, you can barely turn on the news. It's a lot on the plate, and there's need everywhere and anywhere. And I don't know how you make priorities and all of that. Kudos to you. There are so many extraordinary changes going on in this planet we call Earth. And you've decided that arts are a very important part of how we steward and make change and bring hope. So I thank you, and my thank you comes from not whether I've received funding or Urban Bushwomen, but because you're here because you have a calling, and you're honoring that calling in some particular way. I kind of honor my calling of growing up in Kansas City during segregation, and there was a phrase that was in our schools. I went to all black schools, neighborhood, everything, and you would hear everyone say in the churches, each one teach one, each one lift one. And while for many people that could sound like a soundbite or a cliche, that was a lived experience, and it's a living experience. So I'm offering my reflections today, and my reflections today are not based on research studies. They're just kind of based on my own musings and what I'm reflecting about right now. And what I'm hearing from the word in the street, as we call it, sometimes I call it the street committee, about what's going on and what we're doing this with. And I know you all have commissioned studies on the impact of racism, sexism, homophobia, ableism, and all of that. You know that. You all know that. You all know. You know that research. You know the deal. The question that I was told that you're asking yourselves is, what do we need? And who is that we? And what do creative communities need? And how are we, as stewards of wealth and resources, and I think that, talking about the y'all there at that point, using our imaginations to build a present and future that will redress past and present struggle? Well, a real simple answer that I'm not going to dwell on, reparations, 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 reparations. That's not the focus of my talk, but that is the simple answer. I think it was Sekou Sundiata in his poem, Bring on the Reparations. Reparations. But before I dive into where I'm going to land today, I want to get us in our bodies. This is a practice at Urban Bushwomen. And I want to invite us to breathe together. I just finished an opera, Ritual of Breath, The Right, R-I-T-E, to Resist, that I think is at Stanford Live as I speak right now. And I was choreographer, and when they first approached me about it, it's an opera that is a reaction from the family lens of the Eric Garner murder. And then through his daughter's lens and ultimate death of his daughter from this massive asthma attack. And when they first contacted me, I thought, oh, I don't know. Is this going to be pain porn? This could be really bad. And what this beautiful, amazing work did was allowed a collective grieving and mourning and rage and celebration and call to action. And that's really what art can do. So I'm going to ask us to, I'm just going to invite you. This ritual of breath that maybe we take for granted. If you feel just comfortable, you can close your eyes, you can keep your eyes open, and just notice your breath. Notice where it's moving from, where it's generating from. It might be high up in the chest like mine is right now because I'm so nervous. It might be deep in your gut. It might be in your midsection. And I'm going to ask you, as you're noticing it, to now just start to look at maybe a direction of it. As you have this beautiful channels of our body. We have our back body, we have our front body. And thinking of the breath starting at the top and going down our back body to our core and coming up our breath body on the front body on our inhalation. That you've got this circle and cycle of breath. The breaths may be long and big, they may be short, but just noticing and tuning in to this ritual of breath, this cycle of breath. And you can open your eyes or keep them closed. I'm going to ask you to rub your hands together. And we're just making this heat. I know you all have done this before. And you can rub them a little faster because we're going to make some heat here. And now you're just going to bring it a few inches apart, and I'm just going to ask you to notice this energetic space in between our hands. This charged space, this heated space. For some people, it's actually palpable. And sometimes for me, it'll feel spongy. It'll have an actual tactile feeling. And sometimes it's airy and elusive. Let's see if you can notice this energy space between your two hands. This space of connection. This space of possibility. And I'm just going to ask you to just release your hands. If your eyes are closed, open your eyes. And now I'm going to go a little bit deeper into how we as dancers in particular notice the world in our bodies, notice the room. If I could have about 5 or 6 volunteers up here, I promise you're not going to be leaping across the floor. It's going to be really easy. 1, 2, if you want to come on up. Thank you. I need a few more, just a few more. Thank you all so much. Yes, okay. Yes, come on, you can come on. Okay, this is good. Okay, this is great. You're just going to kind of mix yourselves up a little bit and face different directions. So rather than being in a line, we're going to be in what we call a clump. Thank you. So you're just going to be kind of like in a clump, a little closer, and face different directions. Yes. And I'm just going to ask you to notice the space between your bodies. So I'm going to ask you to notice this energetic space that you're inhabiting between bodies, shoulders. This charged space, this space of potential. And as they're noticing and heightening their awareness of this charged space, this space that we sometimes in dance call, my space, and then our space, and then this charged space as a third space of potential. And I'm going to ask you to just, with this very intention, move one part of your body small and see if you notice, again, what you're noticing about this space with one another. And as you all are witnessing and seeing with intention to noticing this energetic space between people. And I'm going to just ask you with this awareness to just change your place in this configuration. And come back to the noticing of space. How your head is in relationship to someone's shoulder. This is connection. And we can't do this on Zoom. This is palpable. This is real. Thank you all. Thank you very much. space of connection. So I've been thinking a lot about the role of the arts and artists, and particularly at this stage of my life, and all of the things that we ask ourselves, and why do human beings need art? And we hear about making meaning in our lives, our communities, our histories, and our work. And sometimes in making meaning, the work, it disturbs, confounds, delights, affirms, pisses us off, uncovers a spiritual experience, saddens, opens our heart, and sometimes just brings us stupid joy. So as I think about some of these experiences that have so shaped my life and shaped how I think of this connection and the art of connection, of artists with communities, I've been reflecting back on something called the American Festival Project. And I know some of you in the room know that work that was done, started in maybe late 70s, earlies, co-founded by John O'Neill and Dudley Cock. And it was a consortium of artists who were inspired to work together, to work with art, as artists working in communities. Junebug Productions in New Orleans, Roadside Theater in Whitesburg, Kentucky. These are all part of the consortium. A traveling Jewish theater in San Francisco, Carpetbag Theater in Knoxville, El Teatro de la Esperanza in, I believe, Los Angeles, Francisco Gonzalez in su conjunto, if I didn't get that right. Liz Lehrman Dance Exchange, Pregones Theater, Robbie McCauley and Company, Seattle Group Theater, and Urban Bushwomen. We were artists that were really committed to working in communities, or that are really committed to working in communities as artists. This was not a presenter initiative. This was artist to community, community to artist. And I was just, as I was in communication with Dudley Cock recently, and I was asking him about what we were trying to do. And he wrote back, he said, with American Festival Project, I think we were trying to create a new story, a new American story across dividing lines. Our performances were the most public expression of our search for that story. A story that was intended for everyone across race, class, geography, gender, sexual orientation. And the questions are, what happened to that story? There were a lot of things that we didn't get right as we were working together as a consortium. We were figuring it out. There was a lot of, things, ableism hadn't come into our vocabulary. Certainly we were grappling with homophobia and patriarchal tendencies of some of the leadership. But we were working together, and we were committed, and we were in communities that were different than who we are. And so as I began thinking about why is American Festival Project coming back to me, and I remembered that one of my first thoughts after the 2016 election, well, my first thought was, oh shit. You in trouble, girl. But then literally my next thought was, we stopped working in rural and small town communities, connecting artists together, artists of difference, artists from cities to rural and small towns to artists in cities. And while when we were doing this work with the American Festival Project, it wasn't perfect, and we didn't have reciprocity of equity and pay, and how we were able to be with one another, but we were on a mission and a journey to do something to make the world better, to cross these divides. Liz Lehrman was working with shipbuilders in New Hampshire over several years, white working class male shipbuilders with her company of out gay, straight, old, young, Jewish, Christian, Wiccan, in conversation, in community. And she was working in Vermont over a 4-year period with these communities, not for audience development. It's about something else. And Urban Bushwoman was working in Montana and rural Mississippi and Eastern Kentucky. And if you want to know more about this, it's on Roadside Theater's website as well as Apple Shops. And these relationships were about how we could learn from one another through creating art together and telling stories and spending time with one another. It wasn't a drive-by, coming in, whoop, out. We were spending time with each other. And I think about the work that Bill Rausch was doing with Cornerstone Theater and the many different projects, and particularly the one in Port Gibson, Mississippi, where he did an interracial Romeo and Juliet with community members and his company. And these conversations across difference, we were creating together in these ways that was pushing and expanding all of us. So maybe this is a little romantic and Pollyanna-ish of me thinking that something really vital happened and was happening. I was different. I came away from that different. I couldn't just look at these rural white communities of overtly racist folks and just dismiss them. I engaged with them. We engaged with one another. And so when we talk about cancel culture and that ability to deeply listen across difference with one another, I don't know what the potential for making change, but I know it changed me, and I know I saw change in some of those communities. So as I reflect on my experiences of the 70s and 80s and 90s in Whitesburg, Kentucky, and just kind of what I was seeing in Whitesburg, I hadn't personally, I grew up in an all-black community, and the boundaries of what they call the inner city were pretty set, so I really hadn't seen rural white poverty. And when I saw that, it was like, oh, this is like, oh, I know this. I know this. And we were going through, and I got to see what strip mining looked like, and it hurt me physically to see it, and mountaintop removal. And it hurt me physically to think about what these people were holding on to, but also being oppressed by. So I was working on a work called Womb Wars, and it was about who has the right, this is 1993, who has the right to control my womb? Yeah. And so when I saw the strip mining, I thought, oh, one of the characters I was developing is like a woman who's been strip mined. And I started thinking about when everything's been taken away and in violent ways excavated and ripped from you. So I came up with this character, and I'm going to do just a small portion of it. This is from Womb Wars. Oh, I don't have to go back to the mic. I want to say that the voice that you're going to hear came from that sense of what I saw and felt from the mountains just being destroyed. I go down to the river to cleanse myself. I see the stranger dumping sewage in the river. The stranger, he see me. He beat me and raped me. I go to tell my father. He beat me too. I go to tell my mother. She stay silent. I go to tell the doctor. the doctor, he cut my insides out. Who gon' care about the river? Who gon' care about poor black me? I'm looking for God. And I started performing part of this work in Whitesburg. But I also had an opportunity to perform some other things. And yeah, maybe let's take a breath, because I need one for that. Making meaning. So as I was finding this character, I was also had these opportunities to perform for audiences that I had not performed for before. And so this is a little short clip from the Archives of American Festival Project. And it's Baby Jawole, introduced by a woman, Angela DeBoard, on our trip there. I wish I could take credit for those words. It's from a woman, Vertime Smart Grosvenor, and her book, Vibration Cooking. So that was, for some of the younger ones, you know, you used to have to hail a taxi. You actually used to have to go out and hail a taxi, and maybe they would stop when they saw that you were black, and maybe not, but sometimes still, we're still dealing with that. When I was there in Kentucky, I remember there was one experience. We went to a place called the Carter Family Fold, and this is where the musical Carter family, June Carter, had been Maybelle Carter, and Dudley Cock had taken many of us, and they hadn't really seen a lot of black folk come up in there, but it was a really amazing thing. So somebody was teaching me this movement. Kind of movement through the legs, but I was going. And so Mama Carter came over to Dudley and said, Dudley, this is a family place. Will you let them know that we don't move the hips here? It's a true story. And Dudley, being mischievous as he is, he said, oh, they're from Africa. They can't help it. And she was like, oh, Africa. We want to be in a relationship with art that sometimes disturbs, confounds, delights, and affirms, but it often pisses us off. So I want to come into another embodiment exercise, and I want to ask a few volunteers again to come up. It'll be easy. I just need about 6. This is going to have a little bit more work to it. Thank you. Now, this is an exercise that I do with my students to talk about the role of the bones and muscles and how they work to support each other, but also how there can be overuse in ways that aren't efficient. So I'm going to ask you to make a circle. Let's come over here and make a circle. And Lauren, have you done this with me? Yes. Okay, so Lauren's going to be the bone in the circle, in the middle of the circle. She's a bone. So that means that she can only move, she's just going to move straight. So she's got to be really rigid. She's a bone, and you all around her, you're the muscles. So this is not a trust exercise. It might look like that, but it's not good. It's not, its purpose is not a trust exercise, but to show how the role of just efficiency in muscular organization. So Lauren's just going to begin to fall. You're going to catch her. But again, it's not trust yet. It's just going to be easy. So you see how well? Yes, nice. So you all see how you're supporting her? So she's just very gently moving, easily. And the muscles are right there to support her. Now you all are going to come in a little bit closer, and she's going to move with a little bit more force. Yeah. Yeah, and you got her. You're great, you all. Great. So now the muscles are having to grip in order to support her. And then this becomes an action that we don't want. Now she's just going to come back to that, the way she moved in the first place. Yeah, the way she moved beginning. And it's gentle. So the muscles are there supporting the skeletal movement of the organization and initiation of the bone. And then I'm just going to ask you all to stop. Thank you. Thank you. That was easy, right? So I'm going to ask Lauren to stay, since Lauren came up here. So this is to teach a concept called bone hugging, which is about the co-contraction. If I think of the leg, the co-contraction of the supporting muscles in order to support the movement of the bone. So you can overuse one. So I'm going to just ask you to lock your legs, and then try to move, lock your pelvis, and now just try to move. Yeah. So then it takes a whole lot of effort to shift off of that, and then the muscles have to really overwork. Now in this co-contraction, where it can be, here in your arms, all of the muscle groups are coming to support stability. So therefore they're working together. So I like to sometimes think of, thank you. I like to sometimes think of the administrators often in this bone-muscle relationship in the arts world, and sometimes because the infrastructure is so lacking, you saw what the muscles were having to do in order to work, to support the bone. You saw what they were having to push. And so when I see dancers often working one muscle group instead of the entire muscle group, so I like to have fun with the students, and I talk about my thighs. So I talk about my thighs, my quads. They're like a jealous lover. So they'll say, oh, I'm doing all the work. Don't no other muscle need to work. No, forget those adductors, hamstrings, any of that. I got all the muscle you need, baby. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do all the work. And so what happens is they tire out. It's too much. The lift is too heavy. And we know this in body organization. We understand this, that you need all of these systems working together in order to create strength and efficiency. Our infrastructures need support. The administrators that dedicate their lives to working in the arts, there's no MacArthur. There's no Duke Award. There's no Gish Award. But there could be. There should be. We can't do this. The artist might be the person out there in the front, but we can't do this by ourselves. And because our infrastructures, particularly of Black and BIPOC organizations, are so strong, taxed. It's like that thigh muscle that then just burns out. And we got people leaving the field left and right because they're tired, they're burnt out, they don't have the organization around them to support the bone. So our infrastructures, and infrastructure funding is not sexy, it's not exciting, but what if we started to look at what does it really take to do this work? Not just to will this work, because we know we can do that. And the artists and the administrators and production people are just done. They're tired, they're spent. What does it take to really do this work together? Can we imagine a 10 to 15 year investment? with organizations on true infrastructure building and leadership development so that when one person leaves that we really are building infrastructures that are resilient. Can we do that? I think we can. And I go back to just thinking about this place that I like to live in, because people will often say to me, oh, Jawole, you're always finding the positive in everything. It's like, yeah, well, I have to. I have to. What if we had, like the American Festival Project, and like a lot of the work that was happening in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, battalions of artists working in communities in small towns, and those small town artists are being validated, and they're coming also to the big towns, so there's more reciprocity. What if we had that going all throughout the country, in places where there's huge divide? And so when people don't think like us, we're able to create work together, and we start to get to know one another. Maybe it's a Pollyanna dream, I don't know. But I use this word reflect a lot because I'm reflecting on this, and reflection is about light. And light is about energy and spirit and power and beauty, power in the best way. What if we could imagine, I don't know, maybe I'm being just naive, that if we had these battalions of artists working all throughout this country, small towns, rural towns, red states, blue states, whatever you want to call it, but we're creating work together as we were. Maybe it's naive to think that change could happen, but maybe it's not. Thank you all.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anna Campbell. I work at the Howard Gilman Foundation, and I am so thrilled to be part of the planning committee for this year's conference and to be able to say that we were able to get Jawole on our stage today. It was such a treat. Thank you for being here. And how fortunate are we as members of GIA to be in the presence of greatness? I really believe that one of the best parts of these conferences is being able to meet artists like Jawole, like our next artists who are coming on stage, and really celebrate what we're here to do, is to support these folks and the folks that support the folks to make this happen. So thank you for that hint, Jawole. I take that to heart. And I also want to thank everybody who is joining us online. We can't see you, but we can feel you, and I'm happy that you're here, and I'm happy that all of you are here this afternoon. I do want to do a little shout out to everybody who made it to the reception last night. There was a nice little dance party going on, so I think we can use some of Jawole's exercises when we get to Puerto Rico. Let's do it again. We'll all be there for that one. And I just wanted to do a little preview of what you're about to see before we all leave for our homes and our next destinations. The planning committee really wanted to close out this conference with something exciting, something that would be uplifting, something that would mirror the spirit of convergence, of us finally all coming back together, and the exciting possibilities of transformation, everything that we've been discussing since Thursday when the conference began. And there was only one option that came to mind, and that was the incredible group Sing Harlem. Sing Harlem, yes, yes, yes. Sing Harlem is a program of the Mama Foundation for the Arts, which was established in 1999 to uplift Black musical treasures of gospel, jazz, and R&B. In the ensuing decades, they have created a powerful teaching program for youth throughout Harlem and beyond, a workshop for people in the second half of their lives called Alive and Kicking, They will knock your socks off. Don't miss them the next time they're around. And of course, the Sing Harlem Choir that performs regularly in Harlem on TV. You can catch them on America's Got Talent, and special events across the country, including the recent Clooney Foundation for Justice's award ceremony that happened in New York City last week. Sing Harlem and the Mama Foundation were founded by the illustrious Vi Higginson. She, if you don't know who she is, she wrote and produced the musical Mama, I Wanna Sing. It traveled for years, it played for 8 years here in New York City and then toured internationally, and it was one of the sparks that launched the Mama Foundation. Now, Vi is joined by her daughter Noelle, who is the arts and music director of the Mama Foundation, who you will see on stage this afternoon. Under this leadership and with the incredible talent on stage, Sing Harlem brings joyful noise to audiences everywhere they go. And now we are really happy to have them with you here today. So I want you to bring some joyful noise to welcome Sing Harlem to the stage, and let's give them a round of applause.
There's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York, New York, New York, New York. Grew up in the town that was famous as a place of movie scenes. Noise is always loud, there are sirens all around, and the streets are mean. If I can make it here, I can make it anywhere, that's what they say. That is what they say. See my face in lights, so my name on marquees found down on Broadway. Even if it ain't all it seems, I got a pocket full of dreams, baby, I'm from New York. Concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do. Now you're in New York. These streets will make you feel brand new. These lights will inspire you. Let's hear it for New York, New York, New York. One hand in the air for the big city. Big lights, big dreams, all looking pretty. Nowhere else in the world that can compare. Put your hands in the air, everybody say yeah. Yeah, yeah. Come on. Put your hands in the air, let's hear it for New York. Put your hands in the air, let's hear it for New York. Put your hands up in the air. There's no place in the world like New York, New York. Put your hands together. New York, 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 New York. Let's hear it for New York, New York. Come on, sopranos. All right, I want everybody in the GIA conference to get up on your feet. Come on, clap your hands like this. This is how it goes. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Hey, this little light of mine, we're gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine. Hey, everywhere I go, we're gonna let it shine. this little light of mine.
Oh, I'm gonna let it shine.
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
Oh,
Let it shine.
Let it shine, let it shine.
Oh my goodness. Hey, everywhere I go.
oh,
I'm gonna let it shine. That's right. Hey, everywhere I
I'm gonna let it shine.
go. Everywhere I go.
I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it.
Oh, keep it clapping, keep it clapping. Hey, this little light of mine.
oh,
I'm gonna let it shine.
oh,
This little light of mine. Yes, girl. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
This little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine.
This little I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Hey, this little light of mine.
I'm gonna let it shine.
This little light of mine.
Let it shine.
This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
All right, I want everybody to sing it. Here we go, all together. This
I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine. I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine.
Listen, I'm not gonna let you leave this GIA conference.
I know that's right.
Without letting it shine.
Don't let him do it.
So can you sing with me? Can you sing? I'm gonna let it.
I'm gonna let it.
All right, we're gonna make a proclamation today, okay? Can you tap your neighbor and say, you got to let it?
You got to let it.
Oh, yeah. Mama Vi Higginson. That's my mama, y'all. Vi Higginson, that's my mama. Mama, you know what? I'm gonna take the last one. You know why?
Why?
Because I'm from 126th Street and Lenox Avenue.
That's right.
We're gonna
Yeah. That's good right there. That's good right there.
shine.
Yeah.
Shine. Shine.
Say, God. Yeah.
Put 'em on your feet.
Put 'em on your feet. Put 'em on your feet. Put 'em on your feet. Put 'em on your feet. Put 'em on your feet. Put 'em on your feet.
I got a feeling everything's gonna be alright.
I got a feeling.
Everything's gonna be alright.
Be alright.
I got a feeling everything's gonna be alright. Be alright. Be alright. Be
Everything's gonna be alright.
I've got a very
very good feeling. Hey, a feeling that's down in my gut.
Yeah.
That you woke up this morning in your right mind. That we can count the blessings large and small. That I project the best on your future. That everything is gonna be up.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna be up.
Yeah.
What you think is what you get. It's gonna be up.